Hello and welcome to Her Online Business Podcast, the podcast for aspiring and experienced female web entrepreneurs. I am Adama, your host, and here you will find digital marketing tips for building your online business, interviews from inspiring female entrepreneurs from all over the world, lessons and mistakes from my experience in entrepreneurship, and much more. I am passionate about helping other women live their dream life thanks to an online business that matches their passion and serves their purpose. So let's hang out, have fun, and grow together. Hello and welcome to Her Online Business Podcast. So if you are not here last week, we started a conversation around money and budgeting with Stephanie Hill-Manuel. And today we are going to continue and talk about how to make sure that your business is profitable from the start. And she will share with you her best tips in order to help you get there. So I hope you are excited for this episode because you will learn so much. So thank you, Stephanie, for being here again.
Yeah, no, this is my favorite part. I love the numbers. So I'm going to do my best to make it interesting for everyone, but we're going to get into the numbers today.
Yes, awesome. So let's jump right into the topic. So we will start with a couple of definitions just to make sure that we are talking about the same thing and makes things easier. So first of all, can you tell us what is profit according to you?
Yeah, so a profit margin, they're actually, you can have the profit margin as one word or one definition, is the amount by which revenue from sales exceeds the cost of the business. So basically, how much more you make over your expenses. So if you bring in $1,000 and you spend $500, your profit margin is that $500. So it's just looking at what is left over after you pay all of your business expenses. And that is the profit for you. It's important to look at that because you don't want to say, oh, I made $1,000, I have $1,000. Because that's not your end number. You need to take away all of the expenses in your business, whether they're just monthly reoccurring ones or one-off expenses such as getting some help or buying a software that's just a one-off service. You need to take the expenses out and then you are left with the profit margin.
Yes.
And so you can calculate that month over month too. And that's the important part, is that instead of just looking at how much you make every month, which is very important, you want to look at what the profit margin is to see how that does. Because sometimes when your income goes up, your expenses go up. As we all know, with year over year in corporate, you might get a raise and then you're like, why don't I have that extra money sitting there? And it's because you spent more as well. You tend to grow into that income. So if you make $1,000, spend $500, your profit margin's $500. You make $2,000. Well, was your expense $1,000 or was it $500? Did you spend more? If you spent $1,000, your profit margin's the same. You have the same profit. You're still 50%. But if it stays at $500, well, now you have a larger profit margin. So it's important to look at what that extra leftover after expenses is every month.
Yes, and so that's how you know that your business is profitable. It's when your expenses do not exceed your revenue. And so since we have a lot of women who listen to this podcast who are still working a 9 to 5 and want to learn how they can teach a 9 to 5 and make a full-time income with their businesses, I wanted to talk about how much you should charge when you are still working a 9 to 5 to get a feeling of how it is like to be a business owner, but also not only spending money without earning anything, even if it's not your full-time gig yet. So what are your tips in order to actually know how much you should charge when you are still working a 9 to 5?
Yeah, so I think the hardest part about leaving a 9 to 5 is when you have to fully replace your income before you can leave. Because of course you have to do those at the same time. So if you work 40 hours a week, you have to make a 40-hour a week income in an hour or two a night, on weekends and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, how do you do that? If you need to fully replace your income, my suggestion, the best way to do it is to save so that you have a few months of income and save up that extra little bit, because the chances of you right off the bat making the exact amount of money as your day job while still being in your day job is usually a little bit slim. It's totally possible, but it's not always normal. So you don't have to be discouraged that you don't get there. So saving a little bit each month that you are making your business on the side and saving up a few months worth, let's say 3 is usually a comfortable amount, then you can leave your 9 to 5, have that safety net, and know that you can ramp up your business to replace that income before your 3 months of savings are up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the way to calculate the actual money is, what do you need to make now? So look at what your personal expenses are, plus business expenses, plus whatever your habits are. You're not going to stop going to the grocery store. You might not think of that as one of your bills, but you have to think, okay, how much do I spend at food every month, and put in what do you need to make to be able to leave, and then how fast will you be able to get there? What do you need to save? So like that times 3, let's say you need to have to be able to leave comfortably, because most people want a safety net, especially if you're the breadwinner or you're dependent on your income. Most of us aren't just working for fun. So you want to look at what the average pay in your industry is. That's pretty helpful. There's lots of programs right now going on where they teach, okay, start at this number. And so you want to be competitive in your market. Starting out, you can usually have your prices a little bit lower than some others to get more experience and testimonials, but you don't want to think, oh, I make $20 an hour now, so I need to charge that. We're getting away with that. And then also, you don't want to do hourly. I don't know what your services are like particularly, but hourly is tying your time to money. And that's the hardest thing to replace, because like I said, if you're working 40 hours a week, you don't have another 40 to replace. And most of us are also doing this to have a better lifestyle. So we don't necessarily want to work 40 hours a week. So creating packages with buffer times on this should take me X amount of time, and adding in a little bit extra, because there's always those clients who, a project goes smoothly and you get it done in less time. And then there's the ones that just go over and over and over, and you end up wasting more time. Packages are a way where you remove the time from money calculation, but you can get really hurt if you don't put in the buffers. So for the people that take extra time, you're not getting paid hourly. So therefore you need to have an amount in there that leaves you a little bit of wiggle room. So you can also determine your rates by how well you present yourself. You present yourself as an expert in your field, based on the skills that you've acquired. You don't have to think, oh, I've only been doing my business for so many years. You probably have been doing it in your day job or on the side learning. Promote yourself as an expert in your field and really show up. Show up professionally, write professional emails. Don't just, start with a, hey, how's it going, girl, kind of thing. Like, professionals get hired first. You can totally have your personality in, but coming across as a business professional, I've gotten jobs just because I wrote an email correctly. Like, because I wrote an email that said like, dear so-and-so, and had all the information and signed, best regards, which is always my signature, Stephanie. Like, I've gotten jobs just because I didn't spell anything wrong. Like, it's amazing how bad some other people are. So just presenting yourself as a professional and coming across a professional is a huge improvement. And then think about the improvement and impacts you're making in their business. What is it worth to them? That's a good thing to think about with your packages as well. And we're going to go through calculations, but thinking about, what does this do for their business? What impact does your service help in their business? Is, you're not just thinking, oh, I'm getting this done, it's not that big a deal to me. But if your service is making a large impact in their business and it's going to save them thousands or make them thousands, you shouldn't feel bad about what you're charging for it if it's, comparable. So we can get into the math as soon as you want.
Yes, we will get into the math. So don't be afraid when we will go into the math, because I will put everything in the show notes so that you can also follow along. So do not hesitate to pause this episode and go through the math at your own rhythm. But this is going to be very helpful to you, especially if you want to learn how much you should charge if you want to ditch your 9 to 5 down the line. So Stephanie will present you how you can calculate backwards what you need to quit your job.
Yeah, so here's just an example. And like I said, we're going to walk through it very slowly, but you're going to nicely put it in the show notes for them. So it's not too difficult. But we're just going to start with, let's say we need $3,000, and I'm in the United States, so I do USD. So I'm sorry, you can calculate it for your own, but it's the same math. Okay.
Yes.
So also something that's going to be different is how much you guys save on taxes or save for taxes based on your tax brackets by your country. But we're all global here, so you have to figure that one out yourself. But let's say we're going to go with $3,000 in taxes, and we want to save 30% for taxes, 30% of all our income. So if we need $3,000 to contribute to our household, then we need to add those taxes on, because if we want to be left with $3,000 at the end of the day, we need to add on that tax amount. So I multiplied it by 1.3, which gets us to $3,900. So $3,900 is the income you need to make to be able to take out that taxes and be left with $3,000 to take home. Okay. So let's say you have 30 hours a month to spend on clients, which sounds crazy, but when you break it out, it's 1.5 hours a day, 5 days a week, which I think we can all probably say we're probably doing on our business right now. So if we have 30 hours a month to spend on our clients, well, let's divide that by 4 weeks. We know we have some longer and shorter months, but 4 weeks is 7.5 hours a week. Okay. Divided by 5, 1.5 hours a day. So 1.5 hours a day doesn't seem too scary when you think about it. So we have 30 hours a month to work on our business. And let's say each project takes 3 to 5 hours to complete. We're just throwing numbers out here, so put it your own in here. 3 to 5 hours to complete on average. We obviously want to range, because some people, it's super easy. They give you all the information, they get back to you. Some people take a little longer. You might have to do more edits. So we want to divide that by the highest number, putting in our buffers there. So 38 hours a month divided by 5 hours. You can do 6 projects a month. So look back, on your history. Is that reasonable for you? If you can serve 6 clients, then we can divide that 3,900 by 6. 3,900 divided by 6 is $650 per project. Is that around what you're, charging? Should you do more, less? Well, when you divide it out, that means you're making $130 an hour. So would you be more comfortable saying, I charge $130 an hour, or this project's going to cost $650 to complete? So putting it in a package automatically just makes it less scary for you and more comfortable for them. Nobody wants to do hourly, because what if it goes over an hour? What if it goes, they don't want the possibility of the number changing themselves. So it's better for both of you to work in package basis versus hours. But this is just an estimate of, if that's what you needed to do and that's what you could charge, you should be charging at least $650 per project. You're welcome to charge more, but that's saying if you need to make that income and that's your possibility, you shouldn't charge less than that per project based on all the other calculations.
Exactly. And thank you for breaking it down so easily. It's actually, the method that I use, but I didn't know that I use it. So it's kind of funny. Because, so you should always take into account your expenses and the taxes, of course, that you will have to pay, and also the transformation and the value that you are offering. So when people say it's too expensive, regarding what? It's too expensive maybe for them, for their current budget, but it doesn't mean that you have to lower your rate. And as Stephanie said, you might try to find out for yourself if you want to charge hourly or if you want to charge per project. It will depend also on your industry. Freelancers, most of the time, they charge hourly, but you need to know how much you charge per hour, and is it something that can sustain you in the long run, because you don't want to undercharge and basically end up kind of working for free, actually. So it's very, very key. So hopefully you will do the math as well, because it's super easy and it's gonna save you so much time. You will gain so much peace of mind with that. So thanks for that. Now on to the next question, negotiation. How do you negotiate with clients? And that question we get a lot, when you're a service provider, when you are a freelancer, you have clients who want discounts and stuff. So how do you go about it, Stephanie?
So I don't negotiate. And that what I would say is your number one is don't negotiate, because if you know that that's your price and you calculated it, you stick to it. There are examples where you can go around this, but on a general basis, you don't negotiate your prices, because if you go to the grocery store and buy an apple, you don't tell them that you'll pay less than that. You don't go, well, I know this apple's $1, but I'll give you 75 cents for it. No, the price is the price, and you pay it and you don't think anything of it. So, why should you negotiate yours? You can, if things are too expensive for somebody, chances are they're not your ideal client. Start there. Exactly. But you can reduce your price if you reduce your scope. So, I'm trying to just think of, a simple example of, let's say, a website. You're building them a website, and it's going to have 5 pages, home and abouts and all these other things. And you have a set price for that. Well, if you if they say, I can't afford that right now, you can always reduce your scope, which means you could say, well, I'll do your first 3 pages. You can get your business live, get your website live, go from there. And then later you can add on those, but you're not reducing your price. You're just reducing the project. And I think that's an important distinction. You can say, I'll do 3 pages instead of 6 and cut the price in half. And you can say, I'll do those. And you don't even have to get rid of the 6 as your project. You can say, I'll do 3 now. You pay me for that. And then in 6 months or 1 month or whatever, amount you decide, you say, we'll do the other 3 and then you can pay me then. Therefore, you get the project, even though, let's say the 6 was too expensive for them, 6 pages. You get the project because you broke it up. You get paid now for half of it and do half the work, and you get the proper rate that you decide, but you made it affordable to them. So that's a case where it's like a payment plan, but and payment plans are good too, depending on what your services are. But that's just an example where you can change the scope of the project or break up the scope of the project and stick with your price and get them to agree with it.
Yes, definitely. And you are not just offering any kind of commodity, you are offering your time, which is one of the most precious thing you have is your time. And if you are a freelancer or service provider, chances are you are serving another business. So you are helping another business actually increasing their revenue, So you should not be afraid or ashamed of asking for actually the work that you are putting in and the results that you are helping them getting. So don't be afraid of that, because if you do your job correctly and you are an expert at what you do, they will see their return on investment, no doubt. So yes, definitely agree with you. Do not undercharge and do not create discounts for clients just because they ask you to.
Well, and another important tip on that is if you say, okay, cool, I'll do it for half price, well, then you're lowering that basis for everyone in your industry. So you have, if that makes you more comfortable with it, think about everyone else. If you say, I'll do it for half price, well, now everybody in that industry is going to have to struggle to get at their worth and charge their price. So, keeping our prices at an ethical level, keeping our prices at a level where we can afford our lifestyle is doing that for the next person and doing that for the rest of the people in your industry. So it's important to think it's not just about you. Even, you might be uncomfortable, which go back to your money mindset, but you might be uncomfortable, but it's more important to think you're impacting other people as well. Not only helping this person's business, which is a huge key, but you're helping every other person trying to leave their 9 to 5 or in their industry and starting out. If you start making those decisions and cutting your prices, you're making it harder for them.
Yes. And as you said, like chances are, if you are not comfortable with the price that your potential client want to offer, then chances are it's not your ideal client, and you should not be afraid to walk away and say no. Trust me, like you will save so much time and energy just by saying no, not afraid of missing on some pocket money that you could have by actually accepting this project, and saving this time and money for clients who actually know the value that you're offering.
Yeah, the clients that ask for a discount are always the ones that take more time.
Yeah.
They're never that, you're doing it for a discounted price, and they always take more time than the people who didn't ask for a discount. So, you might think like, okay, I'm going to give a discounted price. We'll cut that in half, because they're always going to double your time and your input and your stress. And so, you're basically doing it for free. So think, would I do it for free for this person? And if the answer is no, walk away. And you're making your time available for somebody who is going to pay you your worth and love you and, be thrilled with your work. So if you take the time away from that person, then you're losing that opportunity.
Definitely, yes. Always save your time for the best opportunity. Yeah.
Yes.
And so you said something very interesting the first time we talked together. You said that it's important to treat your business like a client.
Yes.
And so I want you to explain to us what you mean by that, and so how it can actually help you make your business more profitable.
Yeah. So it's important, if you have time for 6 clients, like we calculated above, you should treat one of those as your client and divide out the money again. So I know we did the math above, that's just kind of getting you to your package, but you should actually take one of those out and divide it up differently, because you need to treat your business like a client and give that time and energy to working on your business as well. Because if you get stuck working with all these clients, comes time to find your next clients and you haven't done any networking, your finances are a mess, you haven't updated anything, you haven't put out any social media, you can't sacrifice the time for working on your business because you're full with client business right now, because you will need more clients and you can't let that stuff go. So whether it's working on your budgeting, your accounting, your planning, or things like your social media, you can't let those things go. So when you say, I only have 30 hours a month to put into my business, you need to calculate the time for your business and put in, coffee chat times and interviews and, all that other fun stuff. So financing is the part that people love to put off last, because it's scary for people and it's not fun, and it's not exciting and it's not visible to everyone else. Putting out your planning and your budgeting is not visible to anyone else like a social media post, but it's still important to do. And if you find that it stresses you out, well, hiring an expert is nothing to be ashamed about. Hiring a bookkeeper to either their brain and just make sure you're setting things up correctly, or even, offloading it completely, is a great thing to do at the beginning, because your finances are the foundation of your business. If you start losing money, it's going to be an expensive hobby real quick, So that's something where having an hour with a local bookkeeper or your accountant to make sure that you're doing your taxes correctly or signed up correctly with the right tax bracket or what, however your government handles your taxes, that's worth doing. Just like if you wanted a contract, you should probably hire a lawyer. You shouldn't just get a free template offline, because that could go downhill really quickly. So I don't give tax advice or legal advice, but finding an expert is a good investment to start with for your business. It might seem really expensive to get an official contract from a lawyer, but lawsuits are more expensive.
Yes.
So planning out, having an expert bookkeeper help you set up your books to start with. I've helped a couple of my business friends set up their books to start with because they didn't have them set up. And, it just makes them feel so much more confident going forwards. So getting it set up correctly, where that you're doing it the right way, could make it less stressful for you. And setting aside the time every week, every month, however you want to do it, to put in your accounting, make sure you have reconciled your accounts and you say, okay, I see $10 on my bank statement, I see $10 in my accounting, and making sure that that's good. Budgeting, looking towards the future, planning, looking even forwards more, planning for launches that you want to do and planning out what that could get you revenue wise, what the expenses of that launch could be. You can't just think income, what kind of support you would need to hire, what kind of tools you would need to pay for. Planning out those things makes it go from scary, like, oh my God, I have to have a launch and I don't know what's included and I'm just going to throw money and hope it works, to I have a plan. I have a plan for having a launch. I have a plan that it's going to cost me X amount of dollars and I'm going to save up, over the next 6 months for that launch, so that even if I don't make a dime, I'm not going to bankrupt my business. You know what I mean? And those kind of things really help you go ahead, and you'll come at it so much more confident when you have that behind you.
Yes, definitely.
And my final tip, I'd say, which is another math thing we'll have to get to, is the profit first method. So planning your profit is really important. And it's funny because in the accounting world, the profit first method, they actually are backwards. It's completely, it's crazy. So the profit first method, I found out a little while ago and I was like, I love it. It's, my way worked before, but I really love this. And I think it's very easy for non-finance people to understand, and your brain isn't already stuck in the other mentality, whereas us accounting people have to fight really hard to switch our brain mindset. But it helps you separate your income in a way that you don't have to do as much, and you don't have to stress over the emotional, okay, how much do I save and how much am I allowed to take out of my business? And it just takes the emotions out of it. So setting this up is super easy, and then you just plug in the numbers every month or every couple weeks, and it takes the emotions out of it. So the basis is you set up 5 free checking accounts, or you could do folders, or you could, calculate it however you want. But I just literally opened 5 checking accounts at my bank. They don't care. And they're all free. So I set up 5 checking accounts and I named them revenue, profit, owner's pay, taxes, and operating expenses. So revenue is your income. That's the money coming into your business. Profit is what's left over after expenses, which we'll get to. Owner's pay is how much you take out of your business. Taxes, that's pretty self-explanatory. And operating expenses, those are business expenses. So you create a spreadsheet that calculates these out. So you edit it as needed for what you want to do, and you can have a goal. This is what I want to get to for my owner's pay. I want to be able to take out more money of my business, but you can start small and edit the percentages as needed. Some months I don't pay myself at all because I would rather put more into my savings. So you can do whatever you want, but revenue 100% because that's where all the money comes in. Then you say profit 5%. And that's going to be hard at first because you're not going to want to do it. You can even make it 1%. I think I started with 1%. It was taking a little money out and saving it aside before everything else. Then owner's pay 15%. Sometimes I think they want you to get to about 50 or 60. I start low because I would rather invest more in my business. And if this is on top of your 9 to 5, your expenses are pretty much already covered. So owner's pay, let's say 15. Taxes, like I said, I do 30. And then operating expenses, about 50. You can do out the math for what you currently have for expenses versus your income and adjust accordingly. But this is just a basis to start with. So then when your money comes in, they suggest about the 15th and 30th of every month, but sometimes I'll do it based on when the money comes in. You pop that into your spreadsheet. So you get $1,000, you put that in the revenue, and you have it divide out based on your percentages. So I'm going to use my calculator, sorry for the clicking, and let's just say we have $1,000, and I know I could do this mentally, but I don't want to. And so we're going to multiply by what, 0.15 for 15%. Okay, so $150 is what you get to keep. So that goes into your personal bank account. And if you already have one linked, you could open 4 more, you know what I mean? But same difference. So you get $150 out of that. And then you have 1,000, and you're going to multiply by, times 0.3 or 30%, $300. That goes into your taxes, and so on and so forth. So I don't think I need to do all the math for you, but if you set up a calculator, it will just calculate it for you. Just set up a spreadsheet and do equals revenue times 0.15. That's your math for the owner's pay. And so every time you put that in, it'll tell you exactly how much to transfer into each of your bank accounts. And the emotions are completely removed from it.
That's awesome. And I will put all this calculation that Stephanie shared with you in the notes. So I hope that you will use them because it's super, super helpful. And yes, it's definitely logical instead of emotional, so.
It takes a few months to perfect the process,
Yes.
because you might not have that amount in that bank account to start with to pay all your bills. As you transfer, you might need to borrow a little from each account, and you shouldn't be ashamed of that fact because it takes a while to perfect. So if, 1 month you need a little bit more for expenses, you can take that from your profit. I think I borrowed from my profit one time because the set is, and you can read the book if you'd like or research this more, but the profit first method is every quarter you actually go through and you give yourself a distribution. So you actually get little bonuses every quarter from that profit account. But you have that to, let's say you wanted to invest in a course or invest in a coach or something like that. You have that profit set aside in your business to be able to use. And so I think that it's a really smart way for people who are not attached to their own personal finance spreadsheets like I am. I was looking at my numbers every day anyways, but a lot of people, because they're so afraid of their finances, they don't look at it. So it's the perfect way for people like that to have more control over their money.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, so now I am curious to know how you actually help your clients get there.
Yeah, so I help with more than just finance, but for the financial aspects, we like to set up automations. So we look at what they're spending time on that they shouldn't be. So, just going for their whole business, their business as a whole, whether it's scheduling calls, how many times do people say, oh, I'm free at 2 or 4 or Thursday at 3, and you're just like, this is a waste of time. So setting up scheduling links to make that automated, like that takes that time away. Then someone says, I'm interested, and you just send them the link and it converts to their time zone and all that stuff. And there's free ones. Setting up social media schedulers, and then to go back into finances, setting up recurring expenses and payments. So I have a client that I have retainer still, and I have it set up so I draft out of her bank account my fee every month. She doesn't need to pay me, like click a button or anything, and I don't need to click a button or anything. It literally every month her fee gets sent to my bank account and she gets a receipt basically. And you can set things like that up in QuickBooks Online where you get the reoccurring payments. I think you can also do it in PayPal, but I do it in QuickBooks because if I pull directly from her bank account and not from a credit card, there's no fee involved. Whereas, with PayPal and credit cards in QuickBooks, there's like a 3.5% fee, I think. And
Yeah.
fees, even though you can take those off your expenses, your business expenses, they still are hard to swallow. You're like, it's my money. I just want my money,
That's
but
true.
sending someone a check is slow. It's slow to send people checks over, in the mail nowadays. So setting up recurring expenses, my client loves it. She goes, can you get all of my contractors like this? Because it's another bill that she doesn't have to pay. She's going to pay me every month. It's not, it's not like it's going to change. The dollar amount doesn't change. The time of month doesn't change, but it's one less bill she needs to go in and click. And I love it because I just wake up and I get an email that I have money in my bank account or that the payment is processing. So setting up automations for those payments is fantastic. Everyone loves it. And I just send out, there's a template in QuickBooks that they send out that just gets permission to be able to do so. So you need to go through the proper procedures, but it's possible and it's easy. And then reoccurring expenses. If you know that your phone bill comes out every month and it's $25 and it's every single month on the 15th and it's the same amount, you can put those in ahead of time. You know that they're not going to change. So entering the reoccurring expenses into your system and having it just click in there. Well, now when, let's say in QuickBooks, it has a bank feed that connects to your bank, it just goes, oh, yep, you put that in as an expense. Oh, here I see it coming out. Check, and it's just done. So setting up automation so there's less manual entry, that probably saves me between those two things, the scheduling and the payments and expenses, probably saves me a couple hours a month. Like that's awesome. And it saves my client time. And so setting up recurring expenses, just like you would if you have your electric bill get automatically paid out of your bank account. I know some people still like to pay it themselves, but I'm all about automation. So as many automations as you can set up and then just have a system to check them because it's not perfect. Systems are not perfect. So you want to have a system to check it. And that could be what I like to do is monthly reconciliations. And so it's just comparing what should have come out, what should have come in, and going, did it come out and did it come in? So that's just a check and balance to make sure that you didn't miss one or the other. You didn't miss to get a payment, you didn't miss to pay an expense. So automations are the way to go for that. Another way is outsourcing. Like I said, if it creates you a lot of time and stress, hire a bookkeeper. It's okay. You don't have to be making $100,000 to hire a bookkeeper. You can probably find a local one that's very inexpensive because you don't have that many transactions, and it could be $100 a month. I know one of my clients, she pays $100 a month. That's insane for a bookkeeper, but she only has a couple transactions. And so her bookkeeper doesn't have to do a whole bunch. And it's, there's people where that's worth it to them because they just get a statement every month that says, this is what your business did, gets a little graph and chart or whatever you want. And it says, this is how your business is doing. And it's just one less thing they don't have to stress about, And so outsourcing when you need to can be very important. And so I strongly suggest that my clients get a bookkeeper and an accountant to do their taxes. But a bookkeeper does your monthly entries and your accountant just pretty much does your taxes and looks at the bigger picture of your business. When should you change from an S corp to something else. And so those are ways that I help my clients because you're a CEO now. You don't have time for this. You want to work with clients. You want to work on visibility in clients. You don't need to be spending time putting each of your Facebook posts out one at a time and remembering to do that and remembering to send invoices and remembering to collect money. You don't have time for that now. You are a busy woman and you need to work on your business.
Yes, so true. And that's also one of the things that I want to outsource as soon as possible. It's all the things that I think I'm not an expert in, but are like key on my business. And definitely finance and bookkeeping are those things that take a lot of time. And it can be a mess if you don't do them correctly. So it's really like key to just hire an expert in that field so that you don't have to worry about that because you have to do them anyway. It's not something that you can save. Like you say, okay, if I do my bookkeeping myself, I will save time and money. But you may not actually. So
Yeah.
think twice before actually thinking about just saving money on the things that you could actually outsource and focus on your zone of genius.
Yeah. And bookkeepers will charge you extra for cleanup work. So if
Mm,
they have to go back and do a whole year's worth of work for you to file your taxes, it'll probably be more than it costs you to just pay monthly.
yes.
So that's, people just think, oh, I'll just get it cleaned up at the end of the year. And it's like, that's going to be more work for everybody and probably cost you more money. So it's just, it might seem like a large amount when you're not making a lot, but if you have an income from your business, that should be one of the first places that you spend that.
Yes, and definitely, learn and understand roughly how it is about, and maybe do a couple of your own bookkeeping by yourself. But as soon as you find that you don't have time to do them anymore, then hire someone out. So it's important to keep the ownership on your business, so know what is happening, who you are hiring, and what they are actually doing. But then also trust them and trust the process as well. So it's all about finding the balance between outsourcing and keeping the ownership as well.
Yeah. And the bookkeepers are happy to explain and share the information with you. They're happy to give you beginners information on how to do it right until you're ready to outsource.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not going to try to just sell you on, oh, I'll do your monthly bookkeeping. They're happy to. And there's tons of free resources and tons of free YouTube videos that are explaining how to get started and how to, make sure you're doing it correctly. And if you need to just ask someone, they're there too. But you can do it yourself until you're ready. It's not something that you should be like, oh, I don't know anything about it, I'm afraid of it, and I just need to outsource it. What, like I said in the last podcast, you need to understand it before you can outsource it. And so
Yeah.
it's something that you shouldn't pass off and go, I don't ever want to learn about it. You should learn it, and then when you're ready, pass it off.
Definitely, yes. And so can you remind us where people can find out more about you and your services and what you're actually currently working on?
Yes, yes. So I have a business partner. We're both named Stephanie, which is a lot of fun. And we have a website, www.elevatewithstephanie.com. We have social, which is at Elevate with Stephanie everywhere. And so Stephanie and I are coming out with a course version of our VIP day, which, if you're not familiar, a VIP day is a jam-packed one-on-one day with a business owner to help them progress in their business. So we do basically business services, business consulting, and it's called Profit Acceleration VIP Day, where we walk through every aspect of your business from marketing, finances, team growth, personal development. I mean, every part of their business. There's 7 strategic objectives. I always forget one when I'm naming them, but we go through every part of your business and we plan out where you are right now based on an outsider's perspective, where you want to be, and the roadmap to get there, and then the metrics to track how how you're working towards that goal. So we really go into depth, and it's one jam-packed day, because when our ideal clients come to us, they are way too busy for a 3-month program or 5-day challenges or stuff like that. Like, they are just ready to make this change in their business and move forwards. But we know that there's the people right before that who are still in that DIY phase, where they're willing to put in the time it takes to do it themselves. And they also are being a little bit more productive with their income at that point, and they want to have it a little bit less expensive option. So we're coming out with this course option, which I'm super excited about. It should launch in December. And there is a link below where you can get in for some more information and maybe get in that beta round that we're doing, which is going to be at a discounted price because you're going to help us with some feedback. And that's going to be a DIY way of looking at your business, planning out your goals, planning out your financials. There's going to be some support in the beta round, probably a lot of support where you can ask questions and get some really good one-on-one feedback. So the beta round is going to be like crazy good. And that will help you find out what you need to do next in your business to really make that impact. So you're not jumping around and going, should I spend time on Instagram? Should I spend time on LinkedIn? Should I charge this amount? Like, you'll get the roadmap to get exactly where you want to go for your next goal.
Yes, and that's awesome. So I will put Stephanie's link in the show notes, and you will be able to have more information about her upcoming VIP course. So yeah, it's the end already. Wow. I mean, I've personally learned so much, like within these 2 interviews with you. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge with us, Stephanie. It was very, very great. And yes, so I don't know, the last word, maybe you want to like say something to wrap this 2-part interview?
Yeah, no, I think that it's amazing that, everyone of your audience is looking to make their lives better. And, it's so possible and it's so much more amazing than I could have dreamed, this journey that I'm on. And I'm sure you feel the same way where like what we expected out of this is not even close. What we've accomplished and what I have for plans, I reached where my first goal was, and now I'm dreaming to the next goal. And I'm like, I never even thought that this was possible. I thought my first goal was going to be my end all be all, and now it's bigger. And so, keep dreaming is basically my final notes is, don't be afraid of anything. I said that last one. Don't be afraid of your finances. Don't be afraid to, really put yourself out there. I'm an introvert, which you might not tell in this podcast, but I'm an introvert and I struggle really a lot with getting myself out there and putting my face out there, which is probably why I like podcasting. But, you really have to be open to and vulnerable, and putting yourself out there. It's amazing what comes back to you. So I look forward to hearing about all of your client success, and hopefully this is helpful for them and all these tools. And if anyone has any questions about what I said, and maybe I calculated something wrong, like feel free to reach out to me as well. Probably the best way is Instagram DMs or Facebook Messenger. Those are the ways to probably get directly to me. And I'm happy to explain those any further with anyone else. But I look forward to hearing all about their success.
Yeah, and definitely share your aha moment in the show notes. It's very helpful. And same thing when you give me a review, because it helps other aspiring entrepreneurs find this podcast more easily. So do not hesitate to share your aha moment. And if you like it, give me a review as well, so that I can bring more amazing, talented people like Stephanie on the podcast. So with that said, I wish you a nice and productive week, and take care. Bye-bye, Stephanie.
Bye.
That's already the end of the episode. Thanks a lot for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then give me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Google Play. Share this episode with your friends and comment to let me know that you like this kind of subject. Also, if you want to hang out with me, follow me on Instagram at ah.diallo, where I share more of my entrepreneurial journey and my services. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to get notified when a new episode comes out. Until then, I wish you a nice day and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.